When I was going to elementary school, it wouldn't be uncommon for them to have a mobile in the class with the 9 planets displayed on it. And it was always known that Pluto was the smallest planet, and it was the furthest away. That's what we were taught. And then I guess what's been going on over the last couple of decades, or decade or so, I think in 2009, they started saying it's a dwarf planet, not actually one of the 9. And but this is what I found really interesting, because I was going to put this together to go over again. Another confirmation that we're in hell. And I think if antinatalists understood they were in hell, it would make more sense to them why they hate this place so much. I mean, if you see it for what it is, if you're not in the matrix, yeah, that is hell in and of itself, because you're surrounded by these extras, these NPCs, whatever they are, that don't seem to see what you see. That it truly is hell when you're ostracized without even being ostracized. Like you ostracize yourself because you can't talk to anyone. Like I've always used the analogy that when I travel to other countries, even if I don't speak the language, it's no different than me in America, because I can't talk to the majority of people, the vast majority. And when they, start talking and stuff, and I try to be around them, and it's so, I don't even know how to describe it. It's what I've dealt with my whole life. And this is why what it does is it causes you, someone that sees, to think there's something wrong with you, when actually you're the exception to the rule. This is why I love the teachings of Jesus, because he was the outsider. And he is demonstrating to us, I believe, the people that see this stuff, how to escape it and how to ascend out of it. Just on a quick aside, how many times in your life have you heard there was 3 wise men that visited Jesus when he was born? 3 is never mentioned, just wise men. But I can walk down the street right now and ask anyone, they'll tell me there's 3 wise men. How is that possible? Apple is listed only 8 times in the Bible, in the King James Version. Never once is it mentioned in Genesis. And anytime it's mentioned, it's usually about the apple of God's eye. So there's no mistaking why you hold an Apple device in your hand in this realm to take the place of God. You see? Everything he does here is to imitate. He's the great counterfeit of God. And they use technology to do that. So if we're in hell, in this place, you're going to find, this may blow you away if you haven't heard it. I've just learned this today, actually. So I'm reading this, and this is the Blue Letter Bible. And there's a lot of tools in here that you can use, if you're familiar with it, to expound on words and learn more about them. But here's 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all in Revelation scriptures that talk about the second death. Now, in Revelation 20:14, look at this. It says, "And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire." How can hell be cast into hell? And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. See, we're dead right now. That's why the Messiah said, "Let the dead bury the dead." His teachings are so profound if you allow yourself to get into it. They're not for the simpleton. This is why they have a church on every corner, to keep these people brainwashed and taking things literally. They don't have the ability to read metaphor. And it doesn't necessarily make you better than them. You're just radically different. You're way more, you're more intelligent. And it's a very lonely way to be. And they're not going to let your voice be heard here. this is the first chapter in Ecclesiastes. I'm only going to read a couple of the scriptures here, but I'll leave it here for you if you want to read it. And basically what I think this is talking about is any of us that are inclined to do research, that we're like a Neo in the Matrix, we're trying to figure out what's going on. And it really exemplifies what happens to us. It doesn't make your life any easier. It just makes you more agitated, more upset. That's why you have to be very careful with it, all the wisdom you get. And it's okay to rattle people's cages because you're going to be saving them from coming through here again if they actually get it. But you really can't wake people up. You can't. It actually, they will seek you out once they're awake. Although, you know, if you watch the first Matrix, Neo was bothered by a lot of things. Like, you just didn't see things the way other people did. And then he was, you know, finally awoken by Trinity, right? And they discovered he had a worm, which I talked about years ago. I think I have something in here too. Again, the reason I don't have a lot of stuff going on is because my stuff was removed. They're being a little more lenient now, and I'm trying to put up only stuff that will stay here. So anyway, let me read this real quick. Ecclesiastes, the preacher of Jerusalem, at the time this was written, okay? And he said, I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. So in other words, you know, searching all this stuff out, I perceive that this is also vexation of spirit. Vexation means uncomfortable, agitated, you know, it's not a pleasant feeling. It didn't satisfy or make his spirit feel any calmer. You know, it just pushes you on to know more because every rabbit hole goes deeper, deeper, deeper. It's like a lot of us went through life and we never knew who the Mad Hatter was. We didn't know what Alice in Wonderland was really about, right? When they had all these things in front of us. Look at all these Disney cartoons, and there's all these women that don't seemingly have a husband or have little dwarfs or whatever. You know, it's all weird, and yet we think it's normal. And there's other things going on in these stories and why we're inculcated with it. So 1:18 says, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. And you hear this all the time from people. I even do it on occasion. It's really maddening when you see Joe Rogan take your stuff and get, you know, 2 million views. And I have to be on an off Broadway platform and maybe get 200. But see, he has people that go out and search the people that don't have any exposure, and then they steal our ideas, because otherwise what would they talk about every single day? Especially someone who's not tapped into the spirit. That person has more reach in America than any other individual. Isn't that frightening? That, like, to me, is idiocracy at its best. That would be considered the smartest person of our time. How do you not know this is hell? Those of us that see this. This is hell. And then you got all the ones that say, I said it first, I said it first. They're just so concerned. The only reason I want to, you know, have some of my stuff here is to memorialize for my own self, more for people that take our stuff and make money with it. Well, I guess you could say Joe Rogan makes money with it, right? I've never collected a dime in 5 years for anything that I've put out there. And nor will I. Because once you start taking money to share truth with people, you're compromised. And I'll never compromise, ever. So I don't care what you do, what you sell. And then, you know, if I wanted to sell information, I would become a tarot card reader and blow smoke up people's ass all day long. That's all they do. Tell them how wonderful they are, how they're going to get a bunch of money, how this is going to happen. And it's all futurism. I did a video on futurism sells. This whole place operates on a carrot dangling from a stick. Nobody says, what did Trump do when he was in office? Well, absolutely nothing. Just like what he's going to do now if they play that part out. He has a star on Hollywood Boulevard. I've done, you know, I don't have anything personally against Trump. Personally, I don't think he's a human, but that's beside the point. I have nothing against the guy, but I know it's all a show and none of it's real. He doesn't go to the Capitol and do work any more than I'm going to go to the moon tomorrow and have lunch. You know, it's just not going to happen. because this is one of the joys they get. The biggest joy they have is to crucify us in every possible way. This is why I believe we chose to be here on some level. So if you're somebody that classifies now as an antinatalist, which is something I just learned about, I guess in the last 8 months or so, and I've listened to, you know, some of them here and there, super intelligent people, really understand what's wrong with this place. But again, it gets back to me. I'm always like, why? Why am I here? You know, why? Did I choose to come here? Was I sent here? Because I just believe I've lived many, many other lives. I couldn't have the wisdom and the knowledge I have just by this being my first rodeo. There's no way. There's no way I would have the insight. And then you have people that are just, again, they're probably, you don't know, right? Because they're all covered in a human sack. This is the biggest mystery of all. They wear defiled garments. I started really reading the Bible. And then what happened is God started showing me the message behind the message. And I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm just saying this is what I've been shown. You know, if it resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, I mean, I never read the Bible before. I always had one in my possession. I'd read, like a lot of people, you know, Proverbs and Psalms, and, you know, that's all the simpleton kind of stuff that makes you feel good. But when you get into reading the other stuff and really see what was being told, these are stories that have been carried down through the ages. And first they were chiseled on walls and hieroglyphics, and then ultimately they're put in a book. And the average Bart Simpson thinks that that book is the end-all be-all. In fact, they worship the book. I feel very lucky. I found God and had an experience with a higher power before I ever read any scripture. I was 5 years old. And a voice came through my body and said, this life is fleeting. And it would be decades until I would learn that that's like the first part of Ecclesiastes. And Ecclesiastes means the preacher. So this is a fleeting life, and it's all about vanity. It's a vain show that's put on for the flesh. It's all about flesh here. It's all about preserving the flesh, satisfying the flesh. And like what I can't handle is the people that talk in emojis.
Hi, I was in an army experiment and I'm not feeling so well. I think it might have been the drugs they had me on. I've been hallucinating. My head is just killing me. My joints are all achy and Is this a hospital or... I don't even know where I am.
Please proceed to the diagnostic area on the right and have a healthy day.
Oh. Thanks.
Like, I don't respond if you speak in emojis. That means nothing to me. That is like a cop-out. What is the name of the movie? I can't believe I can't think of it right now. Anyway, that was, I'll show you I'll show it to you here. And when we've finally been like mentally reduced to where these people that only talk with emojis, and they think they're so interesting. And all it does when I see it, and it probably has something to do with my age, but I see it, and I'm like, you have no command of the English language. And you see that all day long if you read comments. They don't know how to spell. They don't know how to spell check. They don't know how to punctuate. It's really, and it's almost like you're just expected to not have to spell or talk correctly because it's comments. And so they use these emojis. And IDIOCRACY, that's it. So I'll show you this one little clip from that video that I did a couple of years ago, just in here. But anyway, getting back to this. So I'm reading this, right, because I wanted to show you guys some stuff about the second death. You never hear any of these churches or these preachers talk about this. Because what if you knew you were in hell? Would you go along with everything here? Would you follow these people that literally are, antichrist, that they present as your leaders? And these people all call them leaders. And if you knew anything about government, they're only supposed to be our representatives. We, the people, have the power, but for some reason, we give it over to these lizards to do. And I even hear people that take offense now that you're giving the reptiles all of the power. No, I don't know what it is. I just know it's not human that runs this place. And I know it's off-world. And I believe more in the flat earth and the fact that we have paradigm, we have domes over all the gates and walls that we're separated by. That's why when you think about this 9-planet thing, it's really interesting. And then again in Isaiah, when it talks about he turns the world upside down. So, why do all these actors and all of these Satanists wear an upside down cross? Have you ever thought about that? And why? Why do they wear a cross, but they wear it upside down? Or they just flat out wear a cross? Because see, they know the trick behind the cross. They know it's the biggest illusion that you've been sold. The cross is a metaphor. And they've overcome it because they've sold their soul. There's 2 ways to go about it. You either pick it up and walk with it, or you sell out to this Antichrist beast system. But anyway, look at this. So when you're looking at this, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. It's easy to brush over. And death and hell. What is this right here? Is this us? We're dead already, the first death? This is why people that have a near-life experience or near-death experience actually have a near-life experience. See, I can't even say it right because I know what it is. You can't have a near-death experience when you're dead. So they actually had a near-life experience, but they were too stupid and they came back here. But what I think happened is they wouldn't let them in. They don't want people like that in the kingdom. They don't have the keys. They don't have any of the knowledge. That's why they come right back here to Hades. So look at this. When you go into tools here and you click on this, this will take you into this part. It expounds on each word. Hell is Greek 86, and you click on that, and it'll tell you what its root is and where it comes from. So hell means Hades, and it's 11 times in 4 unique forms. But in this particular use, look at this. Hell, grave, Hades or Pluto, the god of the lower regions. Orcus, the netherworld, the realm of the dead. But the first one says Hades or Pluto. Isn't that interesting? Now, I knew Pluto as a Disney character as a kid. It's a dog, and it's the 9th planet, the smallest one. But now they're saying it's not necessarily a planet anymore. I guess NASA's going back and forth on that. And they just, again, decided it's a planet. It's supposed to be the furthest away. But here in this Bible, it says the breakdown of the word is that Pluto is hell. Okay, so Hades from G1 as a negative particle properly unseen, i.e. Hades, or the place, state of departed souls, grave or hell. Okay, for the older, which Homer uses, I don't know what this is, Antioch, perhaps. And the classics, Homer classics, I guess, Hades is Pluto, the god of the lower regions. Yeah, so I just found that really interesting, that it's Pluto is hell, when I'm thinking it's just a little cute dog wagging its tail. Okay, let's read this real quick. Pluto, animated dog in various Disney productions. Pluto is an American cartoon character created by the Walt Disney Company. He's a yellow-haired, yellow-orange color, medium-sized, short-haired dog with black ears. Unlike most Disney characters, Pluto is not anthropomorphic beyond some characteristics such as facial expression. He is Mickey's pet. Officially a mixed breed dog, he made his debut as a bloodhound in the Mickey Mouse cartoon, the Chain Gang. So he's a bloodhound, and the first cartoon he was in is the Chain Gang, which is, I mean, blood is blood, right? Bloodhound is what they use to hunt down prisoners that escape from prison, right? If they're on the Chain Gang. So this all has the inference of prison and captivity, which, again, even Jesus talked a lot about this being hell. And this is just an AI overview. The Bible describes hell as a place of eternal torment and punishment for the wicked. And a prison, Jesus describes hell as a prison, comparing it to a king's servant who was sent to jail for cruel behavior. Hades, the Greek word Hades in the New Testament is all about hell. Jesus spoke more about hell than anyone else in the Bible. He taught that hell is a place of eternal punishment, just as heaven is a place of eternal life. So we know this is not eternal life, right? So conversely, what's the opposite of that? Hell. What would be even worse than if you kept recycling back into this hell when you think you're going to be advancing to the next level? And that's why they sell it in the church, is that you're going to experience hell on earth now, even though it's not hell, because you're going to go to hell after this if you don't do what we tell you and you don't perform like a good slave. We're really going to trick you. We're going to make you think you're free and you're actually a slave. And then you'll give us all of your debt labor, your whole life for debt notes, and think you're purchasing things and you're actually not. You're just giving us your life energy, because this is what we loosh off as. This is what, you're a battery for us. This is what keeps us going. This other entity that runs this place from an off-world location, another dome. And then they have people that are positioned here. That's why there's so many different things here in human sacks. They look human. Some of them look more odd than others, but they're not. So that's what it is, you know, and this is just another indication that we're in hell. That's why it makes sense for those of you that are on your last loop here. You've been here before, but now you see it. You're the Neo, you're the one, and you're going to escape this time. And that's why the movie's great. Go watch it again. It shows you how hard it is to escape and how they want to kill you just because you don't want to play their game anymore. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches. He that overcomes shall not be hurt of the second death. See, that tells me that I'm dead right now in this experience, in this world, that we're in purgatory, a different level of hell. I'm sure there's worse levels. This is what's really interesting too, is because when Swedenborg traveled to the unseen world, he went through the veils. This is what his books say. He says that he would see people when they die, they would go headlong into whatever place their people, like a pedophile isn't going to want to be around people that are righteous. People have some kind of misunderstanding that they think that these people are magically changed. And then they're made good or something because they say a few words and now they're going to be around righteous people. They have no interest in doing that. See, anyone that sold their soul here, they're twice dead. They're twice dead. They wear defiled garments. They don't have an opportunity to ascend or to be redeemed, because it's all about your spirit here. So they're only operating from a soul mind. They don't have a spirit of God. The spirit of God is what encases your compassion, your intuitive gifts. This is why a lot of these tarot card readers have none. You might think that they're entertaining and stuff, but wait until they try to show you their personal life and how boring they are. They're just liars. They're storytellers. When they go off cue, they're not very interesting. They need those tarot cards to talk about something. And they work for the beast. There's very few that don't. There's a few. Like I don't use tarot cards, but I have no problem with them at all. But I use a pendulum to determine yes or no confirmation. And but the majority of people, again, when you charge money for your information, you're compromised. And on one hand, they say this message is not for everyone, but they make sure to say, please sub and donate everyone to this channel, right? It's only to entertain you. They have nothing to tell you. And then when they break rank and start talking about government, that's when you'll see what they're about and who they're loyal to. Because T. Rump is Abaddon. He's Apollyon. He's the Antichrist. And that's why he's in the position he is again. I've talked about it for almost 5 years now. But again, most of my stuff's been removed. And that's fine, because they're not going to let people see my stuff anyway. The truth doesn't prevail when you're in hell. You see, we're in hell. But don't you find that interesting that this Pluto corresponds with what hell is?
I see people writing, just so you know, in my view, Pluto is a planet. And you can write that the NASA administrator declared Pluto a planet once again. I'm sticking by that. It's the way I learned it, and I'm committed to it.
Okay, so he's sticking to it. He says Pluto is a planet, and I'm saying Pluto is hell, because that's what the word says. And I know that anybody that's in this experience, see, when you really understand where you are, then it seems very stupid to try to make your bed in hell, right? If it's a fleeting life and you don't live that long, according to the Bible, people used to live to be hundreds and hundreds of years old. Like Noah lived to be 900 and something, I forget exact. But now we're relegated to like, what, 80 to 100 years? But that's because of this place. That in and of itself should let you know that you're not in eternity. And the kingdom comes on earth as it is in heaven. They can't get that either. They want to be taken away. But the earth is God's. The world system is Satan's, though. The world order, the new world order, which is the old world order. It's the same people that run this place. And you sit there and go, like for someone like myself, I go, you know, where are all the good men that should have removed these people from positions of power and authority? They don't exist. They all work for them. That's what was so disappointing for me in the truth community as I watch it. And then they try to throw around a scripture here and there to make you think they're always trying to push you into fear. They have some people that are only here to get you riled up. Do you know why? Because when you're in fear, it emits certain energy and vibration into the field. And this is what feeds these demons. That's why these demons are always talking about a collective consciousness. They want the collective to all be on one vibe, you know, one, and low, you know, a low vibe at that. Anybody that believes that T. Rump is here to save you, like, they can't be human. There has to be something wrong with them, or they've had the stuff that he delivered to them, and they're connected to the hive mind. This is why they talk as a collective. They don't have independent thought. The Messiah was independent from the system. And then they claim to have a relationship with the Father. They have a relationship with the Father, all right, but it's just not the Father in heaven. It's the Father of this world. That's who they are in bed with, and they don't even know it a lot of the time. They're so misled. They don't know where they are. And I think it's harder the younger you are. But again, like, I've tried to really put myself in people's shoes to understand why they think the way they do. But after 2020, there's no excuse.
Joe had awakened to a world in crisis. The economy was in a state of deep neglect. A great dust bowl had ravaged food supplies. and the #1 movie in the country was called Ass. And that's all it was for 90 minutes. It won 8 Oscars that year, including Best Screenplay.
I've just been up close and personal with too many of them. And I'd never seen this movie. This has been so interesting. How did it even come up? Because I only watch free movie apps. I will never pay this demon for any of their satanic movies or anything. So it came up, and it was this movie called IDIOCRACY, and it was done in, I'm always curious about when it was done, 2006. Very hard for me to watch this movie because it is so stupid, but it's amazing how it explains the drop in IQ to, they say 2505, it will just be over, but I believe they just inverted those numbers. They meant to say, you know, like they do everything, it's backwards, forwards, 2025. Because we're already there. The obsession with the butt, like one scene, the guy, I mean, if you've seen it, Idiocracy, that's just what it talks about, how the stupidest person from this time goes into 2025, or sorry, 2505, and and he becomes the smartest.
Process which had once favored the noblest traits of man now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down. How did this happen? Evolution does not necessarily reward intelligence. With no natural predators to thin the herd, it began to simply reward those who reproduced the most and left the intelligent to become an endangered species.
Having kids is such an important decision.
We're just waiting for the right time. It's not something you want to rush into, obviously.
No way.
Oh shit, I'm pregnant again!
I got too many damn kids. Thought you was on the pill or some shit.
Hell no!
Must have been thinking of Brittany.
Brittany? No, you didn't! There's no way we could have a child now. Not with the market the way it is, no.
That just wouldn't make any sense.
Come on over here, bitch! He don't care about you!
Yeah, well, there must be something he likes over here.
You mean nothing to me, baby?
It wasn't me! It wasn't me!
So I sped through this movie last night, and I was just like, oh no, this is just like my world right now. And that's how this thing can progress. And they're clueless.
Well, we finally decided to have children, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it's not going well.
And this is helping.
I'm just saying that before I have in vitro, maybe you should be willing to...
It's always me, right?
Well, it's not my sperm count.
Cleavon is lucky to be alive. He attempted to jump a jet ski from a lake into a swimming pool and impaled his crotch on an iron gate. But thanks to recent advances in stem cell research and the fine work of Drs. Krinsky and Altschuler, Cleavon should regain full reproductive function.
Get your hands off my junk.
Unfortunately, Trevor passed away from a heart attack while masturbating to produce sperm for artificial insemination. But I have some eggs frozen, so just as soon as the right guy comes along...
And so it went for generations, although few, if any, seemed to notice.
Next on the Violence Channel, an all-new Alma Balls.
Huh? Hold on.
Where's Officer Collins?
Shut up!
He tried taking water from toilets, but its secretary not sure who finds himself in the toilet now. And as history pulls down its pants and prepares to lower its ass on Not Sure's head, it will be Daddy Justice who will be crapping on him this time.
We now go live to Violence Channel correspondent Formica Davis at the Extreme Court with highlights on today's trial.